Yeah, I'll kick up the other slideshow.
Okay. All right. So welcome to Vibrant Fusion's September 2016 webcast showcasing project sites and Project Online. My name is Mike, and I'm going to be your host. Thank you for joining the September webcast. This is part of the In the Trenches web series, and this one will be focusing on utilizing project sites to increase efficiency and the sharing of knowledge within Project Office. My name is Mike. I'm going to be your host. So here, after what I'm going to do is just introduce our company a little bit, and then I'm going to hand it off to our solutions architect, whose name is Josh. And he's been with us for a while. He's very knowledgeable. He's a great architect, and he's also very interactive. So I think this should be a fun webcast. We're also recording this, and we're going to send this out via your local account executive together with a survey. So the surveys are pretty important because that's how we get feedback on how to make these webcasts better, as well as topics of interest for our audience. So my name is Mike. I'm the account executive, and I'm based out of the Raleigh office. Erin Quinn is our marketing analyst out of the Philadelphia area, and Victoria is based out of Washington. Okay, so before we give the demo, I just want to share a little bit of information on Vibrant Fusion. We're a full-service project management solutions provider. We're Microsoft's Gold Partner for project and portfolio management, and we provide PMO and project server-related consulting and staffing services, and we emphasize implementation, migration, and staffing. Our specialty product is Quick PMO, which is a built-on solution for Microsoft Project, and it helps organizations get started quickly with Project Server. Vibrant Fusion was recently acquired by Microsoft, a Microsoft joint venture that offers consulting and support services with Power BI, managed services, and staffing. Their larger global footprint allows us to provide a larger variety of solutions as well as local implementation throughout the United States and beyond. So at this point, I'll hand it over to Josh, and he can begin his presentation.
Excellent. So I see a number of folks just joined. Just to bring you all up to speed, the topic of today's webcast is the project sites. And I want to just discuss at a very high level what a project site is and what it means to us. In Project Online, of course, we have our projects that we manage our schedule. We have some attributes about projects that define a project. We have our team and resources. But that team really needs a place to collaborate and store documents, artifacts, and in a secure environment. And so fortunately with Project Online and Project Server, whenever we create a project, it will provision a secure collaboration space based in SharePoint for that team. So the topic today is to understand what comes out of the box with Project Online and find out what we can do more with it and why. And I always like to say, to begin, is what is the purpose really of the project site? Sure, it's collaboration, it's storage space, but what does this really mean from a project perspective? What does this mean for my PMO? How does this help me in my day-to-day life? And you'll see here on the screen is that I really refer to this as the story behind the schedule. A project plan is really a living and breathing document that represents very much the current state of your project, and it tells you where you're headed, and with baselines you get an idea of where you've been, but it doesn't really tell you why things were delayed, what happened, what issues were raised, what risks are there for the future, what other action items are there, what else is going on. So I really refer to the project site as the story behind the schedule. It's all the meat and potatoes behind your schedule. So I want to move into just taking a look at what comes out of the box when you're looking at a project site. Now, I'm not going to poll the whole audience here as far as what you're using today. Some of you may already be using project sites, which is fantastic. But for those of you who may not be familiar, let's just take a look at what a standard out-of-the-box project site looks like in Project Online or Project Server. So right out of the box, when you create a project, you may currently be using this basic project site template. And I call it a template because every project is going to get the same project site. Okay? And on that project site out of the box, you'll have things like risks, issues, a place to store your documents. So you'll have a documents library here. Okay? You'll see on the left-hand navigation here, we see some of these things like risks and issues. You'll also have a topic called tasks here. They give you a link for tasks. And by default, that typically lists the tasks that are on your schedule. And what that helps is it allows your team to see what tasks are assigned to them. We'll take a look at this in a little bit more detail. It also provides you a calendar. Now, it's not a calendar necessarily of your schedule, of your project plan. It's a standalone calendar for the team. So if you want to put on, any sort of regular meetings, if you want to showcase anything that's unique to the project or anything that the project may be contingent upon, maybe you have a standard committee meeting where projects are reviewed, you can use the calendar for that. Last but not least, something I'll demonstrate as well, and we'll take a look at, is the notebook. If you're not familiar with OneNote, the notebook is a OneNote tool or a specific notebook for your project, and we'll take a look at how you can leverage that notebook for your project team. So let's just bounce out to what an out-of-the-box template looks like, and take a look at some of these features. Okay. Let's start by navigating to a project site. There's a couple ways we can navigate to a project site. Now, what you're seeing right now on my screen is Project Online. So I am in Office 365. The tiles that you see here are part of our Quick PMO Pro package, as well as this report down below. There's a couple ways we can get to a project site. When we go into a project in the Project Center, we can navigate to a project site by viewing the projects here, and then either using this ellipsis and going to the project site. That's one way we can get there, of course. If I'm within a project, if I click onto a project and I'm viewing some of the information about a project, I can get to the project site here from this ribbon. There's a set of tabs along the top here. If I select the project tab, I can jump to the project site from here or on the left-hand navigation. Okay. Another option that we have as well is I've created a project sites page. So if I am on my home page as a team member, I've created a project sites page, and this lists all the project sites that I have access to. Okay, and I can see the date that they're created and who the project owner is of that site. All right. So from here, I could view all of my different sites that I have access to. I'm going to open up the Aaron project because I just have some demos here and some templates. And if I open up this project site template here, this is the project site that goes with this project titled Aaron Project. If I wanted to go and view any information about that project or the project details about that project, I can go and click this link. It'll take me back to the project itself. But let's take a look at some of the out-of-the-box features. So when I'm on this out-of-the-box page, you can see here I have a project summary, which will tell me such things as what tasks are late, what's behind. Down below, I have a document library here. Okay. And I have a news feed. And a lot of people aren't really familiar with what these can do, all the features. So let's look at the newsfeed first. The newsfeed, as you can see here, is easy to start some conversations with your team. And it's a nice way to be able to collaborate on different topics without necessarily having to send emails, which can get lost. Emails can get lost. And we can also create different hashtags, and we can actually incorporate tags into these, much like you would in other conversational type things like Twitter and Facebook, and Yammer, if you use Yammer within your business, we can actually create conversations here. So in this case, I'm looking to extend this project to incorporate this into an integration with SAP. SAP is a topic that we discuss a lot in my organization. We have other clients that do integrations with SAP. So I've reached out to my team and say, hey, I'm looking for volunteers. Is there anyone that wants to be a part of this? As we start to discuss this topic, Aaron was kind enough to join and talk about, let's sync up on this, and let's talk about integration. So what's great about these is that these hashtags are things that I can click on, and I can see other things that are related to it. So if I clicked on SAP, I can go off and learn more about and see what's related to that. Okay, so just looking right here, I can see any other conversations around SAP. I can see any replies. All right, we'll take a look at search and stuff later on. That's getting a little far off right now. But this is the news feed. It's a nice way for your team to be able to collaborate back and forth within a secure environment. Okay, and that's really key. It's also really nice to be able to keep conversations organized with your project. All right, emails can get lost, can be all over the place. This way, your conversations are really specific to this project, and it's a nice way to look back and see what was discussed. Documents, of course, the document section, a lot of people take this for granted. They think, what, I'm just going to dump a whole bunch of things in here, or, maybe I'll just toss some things in here. But the documents library has a lot of different features that I'd like to highlight today. The first section is, yes, of course, we can have documents here, but since this is a template, you may have heard me mention that in the very beginning. Every project is going to be created using the same template. So I can build in some templates into my documents library. So every time my project is created, I have the same project charter, or this, and the same customer acceptance templates. So I don't have to necessarily go out to another shared drive to find a template. I don't have to create it and then upload it. It's just here for me to begin with. That way you have standardization across your organization. Of course, if you don't have a template or, for something and you need to create new documents, you can create new documents. If you're in Project Online, you can create new documents right from here. If I want to create Word documents, Excel, PowerPoints, etc. I can also create folders here too. So I can nest different documents within folders. So if I want to group things by either phase, so maybe I have documents that are related to the planning phase, I can create folders and I can move my documents into those specific folders as needed. Okay? We can also, of course, upload documents. So if I'm in if I do need to bring things from my desktop, if I have something on my desktop that I want to bring over, it's just as simple as being able to take a file and just drag it and drop it in here. Okay, so I can just drop it right there. It's very easy to add documents. Let's take this a step further, though. Documents are very powerful for a couple of other reasons. Let's say I click on the documents. If I click on the Word documents, you may be seeing this new look and feel for document libraries and lists that is being released to Project Online. And you can see here what's nice is that I can actually rate documents. We can have different columns. We can add columns. We refer to this as metadata. Metadata can be useful to define your your documents. We can also, if I select a document, such as my project charter, and I click this I over here, this I exposes a panel, and we can actually have keywords around our documents. So we can see some of the keywords that have been recently used here, such as SAP and integration. But I could also just call this charter. I could tag this as a charter. And again, the great thing about using our project sites, this gets back to our why. Okay, our why is not just collaboration, but beyond that, it's also being able to find things easily in a secure fashion. So if I'm looking for a number of charters, I might search on the word charter, and I might be able to find this document that I'm looking for. These keywords or any data that we put into the project site is going to benefit the search engine. Everything is searchable out here, which is so helpful to your organization. So putting things in the project site is going to feed our search engine. It's going to feed the hunger for your team to find the information they're looking for. And what's great about that is we can do that across the all of our projects. All right. So if I have, all of my IT projects are out here, and maybe I only see a subset of that. If I run a search on SAP, then I'm going to find all of the SAP documents that I have access to. All right. So using the project site has so many benefits. The last thing I wanted to touch on in documents is the fact that we have the ability to actually do co-authoring on documents. What's co-authoring? It means if I open up this document and I also edit this document in the browser or in Word, I can actually work and collaborate on a document with someone. And fortunately, I have my coworker and wonderful coworker Aaron has also joined us here, and we can actually see him typing as I'm looking at this document. Now, I can edit it as well at the same time. So I can, while he's working on that, I can say that, I'm actually the one that's prepared this. He's filling in this section, but maybe I have some assumptions that I want to do at the same time. Now, while he's doing this, I can actually be also proofreading and seeing what he's doing. But this, to me, is true collaboration. We are working on a document together. You can go back and forth and say, okay, the primary objective of this project is to take our existing PPM system, Project Online, integrate it with SAP. Absolutely right. This is fine. I have no objectives to this. This is perfect. And I could contribute to this as needed, and say, I could even write to him if we're not conversing. I could certainly put in some notes. Consider this. And put in some notes for him to consider as he's writing this. We can go back and forth. I can edit exactly what he's just put in here. And I could change this around. So we can have true collaboration on documents right here on this project site. Okay? So there's a lot of features that you may not even be aware of that are already there. Okay? You may already be using this. If you're an existing user of Project Online, these tools are already built into your environment, and you can start tapping into them. Okay? Talking about search, I've mentioned search a couple of times. Here we've tagged the charter as SAP. I've tagged it with charter. Maybe I want to see, run a full search. If I want to do that, I can do that across all of the projects in Project Online. And I can do that if I'm at this top level of either, where I'm viewing my projects or whatever. You see we have a search bar here. And a lot of people don't always leverage this search bar. But it is powerful, and it, again, gives you meaning to your project site. So if I just do a search on SAP, okay, we can see now when I get this a couple of different things. We can see where SAP has been mentioned in requirements. We can see conversations where SAP was discussed. Okay, we can see maybe that this has been a part of another document, so it's in documents. Okay, we can of course filter this down too. So maybe using these filters on the left-hand side, I know either who wrote it, or I know I'm looking for just conversations, or I know I'm looking for a Word document. Okay, so I can very quickly just click on these and filter down and get to what I'm looking for. I know I'm looking for a Word document that was written a little bit ago, so I'm going to scale this back. Okay, I know it was less than earlier than a month ago or earlier than a year ago. Okay, now imagine this with even more data, right? Very quickly enables me to find the information that I'm looking for because I stored it out here. And again, this is based on the security that is inherent in project. Okay? So with security in project sites, out of the box, if I'm a team member If I'm assigned to a task on a team, and then on your project plan, then I'm going to have access to this project site, okay? But no one else will, unless, of course, you've given access or granted access outside of that. Out of the box, the security is that the team members on the project plan have access to this project site, okay? You can also have other groups that have access to all project sites, such as like a portfolio viewer or a portfolio owner, okay? But that's some of the basics around security. All right. Let's take a look back at some of the other features that are found in just the out-of-the-box project site. Okay. I'm just going to hit some of these on the left-hand navigation. Okay. So I mentioned the notebook. The notebook is one of my favorite features of Project Online and SharePoint is the OneNote notebook. Now, each project gets its own unique notebook. And in this notebook, this can be very helpful for capturing meeting minutes and quickly updating this. This is also something that you can co-author on, and then you can see other people's notes on this. We can add multiple sections, so each notebook has multiple sections, and within a section you have pages. All right. So right now we have meeting minutes. I can quickly add another meeting minutes for today. So I could say, yeah, these are my 9:27 minutes, and it's very easy to just say, to very quickly type in information. And you can actually tag things as well. And tagging items can be very, very resourceful and useful because you can then search on tags. You can say, oh, these are things that I need to do. All right, so I need to demonstrate what a customized project site looks like. Yeah, that's what's coming up. So I'm going to demonstrate what a customized project site looks like. But you can have tags. What I use this for all the time is requirements. If I'm meeting with someone or a client and I'm getting their requirements, it's very easy for me to quickly jot down what their requirements are. I may tag them as important or critical. I even have a custom tag for myself that's for training topics, things that are going to impact training. And then I can do a search on this and across all of my pages in the notebook and say, okay, give me all the training items. Give me all the requirements. And then I can formalize that into a formal document. Okay. But we can have multiple sections, so such as meeting minutes, we could have requirements. You get the idea. But the OneNote notebook is very, very helpful. And this is the web-based version. Just like Word, we also have a client-based version. And if that's been included in your license, you can edit this in OneNote itself, and it'll open that project up in your OneNote client. And then all of your projects are there and available to you right within your OneNote client. It can make your life very, very easy. And that's what this is all about, trying to find more efficient ways of capturing data while still storing it all in a very, very useful, meaningful location. Okay? So that's the OneNote notebook. I could spend literally 2 hours just on OneNote. So if you're not familiar with it, play around with it. It's really powerful. And I'm sure if we haven't had a webinar on it already, that might be something, a future topic to look out for. Okay. So again, the OneNote is very, very powerful, a lot of features. With the client version, of course, you have the ability to do recordings. There's so many powerful features with OneNote. Okay. So looks like my Chrome here is waking up. All right, here we go. So that was documents. Tasks, like I said, tasks is going to give you a list of the tasks that are on the project plan. You cannot edit these tasks, okay? So only the PM can edit the tasks, but it is a nice way for your team members, if they don't have access to the project plan, to actually be able to view the tasks that are assigned out. And if you're familiar with some of the list views, and accessing list views, we have some different views here. So right now I'm viewing all tasks, but I can click on this. As a team member, I could view this as a calendar. If I want to see how these display on a calendar, I think this is an older project here, but you can see, I can see when certain tasks are occurring. All right. That's the calendar option. I can see just what's completed. And if I click this ellipsis here, I can also just narrow this down to what just are my tasks. Now, I don't think I actually have any tasks on this project, but you get the idea around how this can work. What's late? Okay, I can see this in a Gantt chart format as well. Okay, so we can even see a Gantt chart on the project site. This way the team members can really have access to this information without, having to go up to the project plan. All right. So that's the tasks. I mentioned the calendar earlier. The calendar is a standalone calendar. Okay, so you can create different events here. What's nice is, though, you can connect this to Outlook. So if you want to see this calendar in Outlook, you can view that alongside your other calendars. Okay, there's a lot of features within the calendar that we could go into. But a couple of the other things I did want to highlight, of course, are risks and issues, if you're not familiar with those. Risks and issues are very key components of project management. We often talk about RAID, which is risks, action items, issues, decisions. You'll note that out of the box we only get the R and the I in the RAID, and so that's gonna we'll see that a little bit later, how we can address the A and the D. I'm going to hop over to a different site that's actually a little bit more customized. Okay, so I'm going to hop over to this knee and elbow pads project here, and you can see that this project site has been customized a little bit. And that's something that you guys can consider. If you're already using this, you can actually edit the template so that you can expose and reorganize some of these widgets. All right, so my previous one had the documents down here, and we had the project summary up here, but you'll see here I have risks and issues right on my home page. And what's really nice about this, sometimes some people really like this, is that you can see what the issues and risks are, and I can create new ones right from here. This documents here has been modified with a little bit different look and feel. We have an Add Document button as well. Real briefly, to get into that, you would go to the Page tab, and you can edit page. And just so you can see how that, how this looks, when you edit the page, this is really a SharePoint page. If you're familiar with SharePoint, these widgets are really referred to as web parts. Okay, and you can add web parts here. If you click Add a Web Part, it pulls up a list of choices. So if you wanted to add, for example, issues or risks, under the apps, which is the default here, under apps, you can see here there's issues and then there's risks. If you have any other lists, you can always expose those as well. But hold on to that thought. We'll talk about other lists in a minute. So on this template has been modified a little bit. You can see it already has some, when this project was created, some folders were already there. So we may have some documents and templates that are already buried, nested in these folders. Okay, that can be very helpful for organization and standardization. We can see I already, there's some risks that have been logged. Now, risks and issues, another nice, powerful feature about risks and issues with Project Online is that all of the risks and issues that have been assigned to me, I can see that from my home page. Okay, that's an out-of-the-box feature. So if I wanted to see all of the risks and issues that are assigned to me as these are created, I'll be able to see that right from my PWA homepage. Okay, so as these are created, such as a risk, all right, so if I go in, I look at a risk, you can see some of the different types of data that is captured around a risk. And what's nice about this is that it really tries to instill best practice. You may not necessarily require everyone to put information in here, but it gets it right in their face so that they know, what, I really should put in my mitigation plan. Okay, what is our contingency plan? What's going to trigger the contingency plan? Let's describe the trigger. And then, of course, you can add custom fields to these as well. If you need to add additional fields, like any conversation, if there's any people that need to be notified about this, we can take this further. But if we take a look at some of the let's say server hardware out of date, I can assign an owner, which is someone that might be overseeing it, but then there's the person who may actually be assigned to do the work. I'm going to make that be me. Who's managing that risk? We can have some, statusing around it and categorize it. I don't have any categories here, but in production you would have some categories. Is this going to be a scope? Is this, or you can do scope and schedule and cost. You could do, is this hardware, software, resource? Think about the different types of categories you might have, and then the probability of it occurring. What's the likeliness this is going to occur, and what's the impact if it actually does occur? Okay, so on a scale of 1 to 10, if my servers go out of date and they're not working, they're no longer working, that may have a high impact, and it may have a pretty high cost if I need to update those. So what happens with probability and impact is that this creates what's called an exposure, and then we can sort and organize and prioritize our risks, right? So here, of course, I could go in and continue to further define this risk. Same thing with issues. Issues, of course, being similar. We can create and manage our issues. Of course, we have multiple views too. So if you end up having really long projects where you end up managing a lot of risks and issues, we have there's a number of different views there where you can see, okay, just show me the active ones, what's closed, what's opened, etc. Okay, all right. So that's issue and risk management. If I looked at this from the home page, back on the home page of PWA, if I wanted to see all the risks and issues that are assigned to me, as soon as those are created and they're assigned to me, I can actually see all of those across all of Project Online, which is really, really beneficial and very easy for me as a team member. Right? So on this home page, in Quick PMO, we have a tile for it, but you also have that out of the box, you can see issues and risks as well. So if I click on issues and risks, I can see that where my issues are. I have some issues I'm tracking on acquisition target analysis and on knee and elbow pads there, and that was the one that I was just working on there. Okay, so those are a couple of the features that you can have with using the out of the box tool. Now, bouncing back to the slideshow, I just want to show you a couple other examples, and we'll talk through some of the other things. And then I know we're going to have to keep moving. So what more can we do with the project site? So we were just looking at this one, this knee and elbow pads one, and we saw, some easy things, some low-hanging fruit, so to speak, or you can expose some things on the template. We can build in our document templates. Those are some easy things that that are pretty easy to do. Okay, we talked about using the features that are already there that you may not be using. Okay, but let's look at some other examples. So with our Quick PMO Pro, of course, you can always work on these templates yourselves. But if you're looking for something that's quick and get you started real fast, our Quick PMO Pro includes a site template that includes a lot of different lists. So you heard me mention the RAID earlier, right? Well, what about action items? What about decisions, right? What about reports? These are all great things that would be really nice to have for my team. So with Quick PMO Pro, we have, of course, reports down there, action items, change requests. These are great. Wouldn't it be nice to be able to track all your change requests and maybe even have some electronic approvals behind them? That's pretty powerful, right? Have all that managed within a single location, all that documentation in a single location. This site, of course, pulls in some information from the project. We can see what phase it's in, etc. Okay, so there's some things that we can do on the project sites and take them even further. Our Agile project site actually, this is just to show that you can incorporate different apps in the project site template as well. So on our Agile project site, we have things like, a task board where you can drag and drop these items in here. It's very interactive. So there's a lot of different things that can be done on the project site. So let's kind of look at this from a list, and we'll check off the ones that we've already talked about. So I showed you the news feed. Okay, again, you already have that out of the box. Use it. Okay, it can really benefit your team. Include your artifact templates. We talked about that. We demonstrated a little bit of co-authoring. You can do that in OneNote. You can do that in Word. You can do that in Excel. A lot of great features there with co-authoring. We talked about using keywords or even other metadata column to feed your search engine. Okay, I like the keywords. Turning on the keywords is pretty easy within your library or list settings. There's just a checkbox. Check that checkbox, and then you can start entering keywords in about documents. You can use those and see that in your search engine. Of course, around data storage, if you're currently using Excel or Word to track other lists, maybe those things would be better off as a list. Okay, think about the benefits of using a SharePoint list for things like tracking change requests, decisions, action items. Okay, these are all things that can really be very easily tracked in a list format, as opposed to in multiple documents. Documents can be kind of heavy, slow, cumbersome. Sometimes all you need is just a quick list to be able to capture the basics, and then you can categorize that information, you can run workflows on them, etc. Okay, so consider converting those Excel documents into lists. Okay, and then you can standardize that across all of your projects. Okay. Add other lists, such as actions and decisions. We talked about that. Using the OneNote notebook, it is really, really one of my favorite tools. And the more you use it, the more your teams use it, I think the more effective you're going to capture a lot of that information. Okay. Think about just being able to, document conversations and things like that that are happening during meetings, meeting minutes, those kinds of things. It's great to be able to go back and look at what was discussed very quickly. We demonstrated adding different web parts to showcase either issues and risks on that home page. Okay, out of the box it doesn't do that. Let's bring that up. All right, add those web parts. Of course, this one I didn't talk about yet. So I mentioned how the project site is a template. Okay. And all your projects have that. Well, what if you have a number of different EPTs or project templates? Maybe HR has a different, they're using Project Online for projects, and IT wants to use Project Online for projects. Well, they may have very different project artifacts. They may have very different needs for their teams on the project site. So you can create unique project site templates for those project types, okay? Or maybe even agile versus waterfall, okay? So, those are some things that you can consider. It's a little bit out of the topic here, but you can have, set up approval workflows. You can use the out-of-the-box SharePoint workflows. If they're enabled, you can use those to run workflows on things like change requests or documents, right? Use the tool to generate those emails and sign off. Okay, so there's a lot of different things that we can do with project sites that really encompasses and feeds the system. Okay. Looking at this is an example here of our quick PMO project site, and you can see just by looking through here a lot of the different types of data that can be captured. So here in this section in the project phases, this kind of tells us which documents we need to complete. Okay, these are links to my charter and business case. But I also have a stakeholder analysis list where I can list out all my stakeholders. Again, it's all about capturing the information in a standardized format. Not every team may use it, but think about the information that you want to capture. And if you put it there, it may prompt people to fill it in. Now, other clients may require it. They say, you know what, you're moving into the executing stage. You need to make sure that this information is filled out. And if it's not filled out, I'm not approving your project to move to the next phase, right? Requirements. You can have a requirements list or a requirements documents. We've talked about issues, risks, test cases. All right, if you don't have a formal test case management tool, we have a test case list in here. Oh, this was the stakeholder list. I must have clicked on that by accident. Yeah, this is where we can document, who's key at the start of the project. Who were the key stakeholders? What's their win criteria? Again, capturing the story behind the schedule, right? We want to know what when we started this project, what was key? What was going to make them happy? What do they deem success, right? How is success defined? Test cases is a nice one. Lessons learned. Okay, lessons learned, a great opportunity for lists as opposed to using OneNote or a Word document. With lists, we can actually capture and report on this information. So, for example, with lessons learned, we're not only going to capture what the lesson was, we're going to capture, what was the knowledge area that this applied to. And you know what? Is it a problem or was it successful? So not only are you capturing where you may need to improve, but you also can capture where you're successful, and then you can report on that. So that's the great thing about using lists, is that it's reportable, it's searchable, and you can search and refine on that using that search engine tool, just like we were refining things earlier based on Word document or Excel or conversation. Imagine being able to refine based on this information. Okay, so think about the lists, the documents that you're storing now, and consider things like this. If you put them into lists, you can search and report on that information. So these are just some examples of how you can use the project site to be more efficient. And we talked about search. Okay, so searching, we saw how we can get that information across just one simple search topic, crosses all those projects. All right, and of course, it's only going to reveal items that you have permission to access. All right, that's key. All right, so it is secure, which is fantastic. I hope this was helpful. I hope you can see the power of the project site and how it really is so much more. Project Online and Project Server, it's not just the schedule. It's not just the resources. There's so much that comes with it, but the project site really gives you so much more power and to collaborate and share information. Mike, do you want to do a wrap up here? We have some time if we want to do Q&A. I'm happy to answer any questions too.
Thank you so much, Josh. Sure, if there are any questions, now would definitely be the time to ask them. Let me see, I might have to just unmute some people. Okay, were there any questions at this time?
Just a question to the group. I mean, I'm curious, how many people are leveraging the project sites today? I don't know if there's ability here to raise a hand, but if you want to speak out, I'd love to just hear, what you're doing with your project sites today. Are you using the out-of-the-box format? Have you extended it? Do we have some quick PMO users here?
This is Nathan. We're using Microsoft Project, but not the online version, and then we use Jive to host our project site. So just trying to look at a way to become more organized and bring everything together.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the beauty of Project Online is, to be able to have your schedule and all your resourcing there and available so that, that's online and able to be viewed as well as all your project data. So moving those projects that you have, if you have them on your desktop or on just a shared drive, moving them up to a server environment like Project Online or Project Server, gives you even more insight into what's going on with your projects, who's working on what, who's allocated to which projects, etc.
And thank you for asking that question, Nathan. We definitely appreciate the participation. Is there anybody else on the call that has any kind of questions or concerns or anything? No? Okay. All righty. So we thank everybody for attending, and thank you for joining us for this project site webcast. Your local account executive will soon reach out with an email containing a link to the survey, as well as the webcast recording. We would appreciate your responses, as they do help us guide the services that we provide. Please feel free to connect with us on our LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter pages to learn more about solutions that we offer that can drive your business. Our next In the Trenches webcast will be on October 19th at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we'll focus on ERP and maintaining a balanced team. Again, thank you for being a part of this webcast, and we hope to see you at our next event.
Great. Thanks so much. Have a great day.
Everyone.